Welcome to Mathematical Analysis. Today we are going to explore the fascinating geometry of the real number line. We will learn exactly how numbers cluster together, how they isolate themselves, and what happens when infinitely many points are trapped in a finite space. This is the absolute foundation for understanding limits and continuity. Let us start with a simple idea. Imagine you are standing exactly at your front door and you want to know who lives within a 5-minute walk in any direction. This physical area around your house is your neighborhood. In mathematics, we do the exact same thing with numbers on a number line. Instead of a house, we pick a specific target number to act as our center. Instead of a 5-minute walk, we pick a tiny, strictly positive distance, which we call epsilon. A mathematical neighborhood is simply the collection of all numbers that live within that tiny epsilon distance from our target number. Now that we understand what a neighborhood is, let us look at how it is written mathematically. The formula defines the epsilon neighborhood of a point A. The absolute value expression calculates the distance between any number x and our center A. The inequality ensures this distance is strictly less than epsilon, meaning the boundary points are not included. As epsilon increases, the neighborhood bubble grows wider, capturing more numbers. As epsilon decreases, the bubble shrinks. We can also write this as an open interval from a minus epsilon to a plus epsilon. Before we move on, let us see this with a concrete example. We want to find the 0.1 neighborhood of the number 5. We are given the center point A equals 5 and the radius epsilon equals 0.1. We will plug these values directly into our open interval formula. We calculate the left boundary by subtracting the radius from the center and the right boundary by adding the radius to the center. This is the very first step in translating our specific problem into mathematical notation. Continuing with our calculation, we perform the basic arithmetic to find the final boundaries. The left boundary is calculated as 4.9 and the right boundary is calculated as 5.1. This means any number strictly between 4.9 and 5.1, such as 4.95, lives inside this specific neighborhood. The numbers 4.9 and 5.1 themselves are not included because a neighborhood is always an open interval. Now that we have mastered neighborhoods, we can explore limit points. Imagine a crowded bus stop where people are trying to get as close to the bus door as possible. The closer you get to the door, the more tightly packed the people become. In mathematics, a limit point is exactly like that bus door. It is a specific spot on the number line where the numbers from a given set crowd together infinitely tightly. Even if you draw the tiniest microscopic bubble around a limit point, you will always trap at least one other number from the set inside that bubble. This brings us to the formal mathematical sentence for a limit point. Let us break it down. We take the neighborhood around our candidate limit point P. We then remove the exact point P from this neighborhood to ensure we find a different point. Next, we check for an intersection or overlap with our set S. Finally, we state that this overlap is not equal to the empty set. Altogether, this formula states that if you look around P, ignoring P itself, you will definitely find some overlap with the set S, no matter how small epsilon is. Let us visualize what this formula actually means. Here you see a number line with a red dot representing our limit point P. The green bracket represents our neighborhood around P. Notice how the blue dots, representing the set, become infinitely dense near the red dot. Because the dots are crowding so tightly, it is physically impossible to draw a green bracket small enough to isolate P without trapping at least one blue dot inside it. This inescapable crowding is the visual hallmark of a limit point. Now that we have a visual understanding, let us apply the formula to a classic example. Consider the set S containing 1, 1/2, 1/3, and so on. These are fractions of the form 1 over n, where n is a positive integer. We want to prove that 0 is a limit point of this set. To do this, we must show that any neighborhood around 0, no matter how small its radius epsilon, contains at least one point from S. We will set up the problem here and then prove it rigorously. Let us begin the mathematical proof. We start by writing the general formula for a neighborhood around our target point 0 with an arbitrary positive radius epsilon. This step is crucial because a limit point must satisfy the condition for every possible neighborhood, not just one specific size. This interval stretches from negative epsilon to positive epsilon. Since epsilon is a positive real number, its reciprocal, 1 over epsilon, is also a positive real number. By the Archimedean property, we can always find a positive integer n that is strictly greater than this reciprocal. This guarantees that no matter how large 1 over epsilon is, an integer will eventually surpass it. Continuing our proof, we rearrange the previous inequality. By multiplying both sides by epsilon and dividing both sides by n, we find that 1 by n is strictly less than epsilon. Since n is a positive integer, the fraction is also strictly greater than 0. This inequality proves that the fraction 1 by n, which is a member of our set S, falls strictly between 0 and epsilon. Therefore, it lives inside the right half of the neighborhood. Since we found a point in S other than 0 inside this arbitrary neighborhood, 0 is officially a limit point of S. Notice that 0 itself is never actually in the set S, but it is still its limit point because the fractions crowd infinitely close to it. So, we have proven how limit points work. This brings us to the exact opposite scenario. What happens if a point in a set is completely alone? Imagine a hermit living on a remote mountain, miles away from the nearest town. If you draw a small enough circle around the hermit's house, no one else will be inside that circle. In mathematical analysis, we call this an isolated point. While a limit point is defined by infinite crowding, an isolated point is defined by having a clear, empty buffer zone around it. Let us look at the mathematical definition of an isolated point. This formula is the exact negation of the limit point formula. It says that for some specific radius epsilon, the neighborhood around P, when you remove the center point P itself, has zero overlap with the rest of the set S. The symbol for the empty set means there is nothing there. If you can find even one single radius epsilon small enough to make this equation true, the point P has its personal space and is officially isolated. Let us test this formula with an example. Consider the set S containing the single number 2 plus all numbers strictly between 3 and 5. We need to test if the number 2 is an isolated point. We will try to find a small neighborhood around 2 that does not touch the interval from 3 to 5. We choose a small radius, for example 0.5. We calculate the neighborhood by subtracting and adding 0.5 to our center point 2, giving us an interval from 1.5 to 2.5. Continuing with our test, we must compare this buffer zone to the rest of the numbers in our set. We check for overlap between our neighborhood, which ends at 2.5, and the rest of the set, which does not start until 3. There is absolutely no overlap. The intersection is completely empty, meaning no other points from the set invaded our bubble. Therefore, 2 is an isolated point because it has a clear, empty buffer zone separating it from the rest of the set. Now that we understand both crowding and isolation, we arrive at one of the most famous guarantees in mathematical analysis. Imagine you have a fenced-in backyard, which represents a bounded space. Now imagine you release an infinite number of fireflies into this yard. Because the yard has boundaries, the fireflies cannot spread out forever. Since there are infinitely many of them trapped in a finite space, they are forced to bunch up and form at least one dense glowing cloud. This unavoidable crowding is exactly what the Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem describes for numbers. Let us prove this theorem using a technique called the bisection method. We start with a bounded infinite set S. Because it is bounded, we can find a left boundary A and a right boundary B such that the entire set lives inside the closed interval from A to B. We have successfully trapped our infinite fireflies inside a finite yard. Next, we cut the interval exactly in half by finding its midpoint C. This splits our original interval into two smaller equal halves. By cutting the space in half, we force the infinite points into a tighter corner. Continuing our bisection method, we know that since the original interval contained infinitely many points, at least one of the two new halves must also contain infinitely many points. We cannot split an infinite amount of points into two finite amounts because two finite amounts add up to a finite amount. We select the half that contains infinitely many points and rename it as the interval from A1 to B1. We repeat this chopping process forever, creating smaller and smaller nested intervals. Most importantly, every single interval in this endless sequence contains infinitely many points of our original set S. In our final steps, as we chop the interval in half infinitely many times, the width of the interval shrinks to exactly 0. By the nested interval property of real numbers, these shrinking intervals collapse onto one single unique real number, which we will call P. Because every tiny neighborhood around P will eventually swallow one of these intervals, and that interval contains infinitely many points of S. The neighborhood itself contains infinitely many points. Therefore, the point P is guaranteed to be a limit point, completing our proof. To wrap up our understanding of limit points, we must look ahead to how they are used to classify sets. Think of a prestigious club that has a strict rule. If a crowd of people is gathering right outside the club's door, the club must expand its walls to include that exact spot. In mathematics, a set that behaves this way, swallowing up all of its own crowding points, is called a closed set. A set is defined as closed precisely when it contains all of its own limit points. Let us look at the mathematical notation for a closed set. In this formula, S prime represents the derived set, which is simply the collection of every single limit point of S. The subset symbol indicates that the first group is entirely contained within the second group. Therefore, this formula states that the set of all limit points must be entirely contained inside the original set S. When this formula is true, the set has captured all its crowding points and is officially classified as a closed set. We have covered a lot of ground today. Remember, a neighborhood is simply a small, open bubble of distance around a target point. A limit point is a location where the members of a set crowd together infinitely tightly, while an isolated point sits completely alone with an empty buffer zone. The Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem guarantees that infinite points trapped in a finite space must always create at least one limit point. Finally, when a set successfully captures all of its limit points, it earns the title of a closed set. You now have the foundation for mathematical analysis.